What is going on, Ranger fans? Welcome to Off the Grid, the All Power Rangers podcast where we talk things all Power Rangers. It has been a while since I've done an episode, but I'm here to continue this podcast. So usually we do not have a lot of news to cover, but there's a lot of stuff to talk about today. By the way, my name is Jacob Bartley, the host of this show. So like I said, usually we just jump into a review of the comics or a review of the TV shows. Maybe I show some collectibles here and there. But today, lately, we have some potential movie news and some comic book news. So we're going to talk about that first before I review Go Go Power Rangers number 10. But first, I want to show you guys some of the things that I've been collecting lately. So it's been like 3 weeks or a month since I've done my last episode. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's been a while. It's probably the longest length in between episodes I've had since I started Off the Grid. So since then, I've bought 3 legacy figures, which I'm so excited about. So as most of you know, Toys R Us is going out of business. They're in like their last 10 days right now. So like last week, they went down to 60% for their toys or something like that. I think it was at least 50 when I picked this up. But I finally completed the movie collection legacy figures from the 2017 film. Finally got Trini there. This one was hard to find, and honestly on Amazon it was like 33 bucks, and I had seen it early on when Toys R Us was first going out of business and they were only like 10% off, 20% off, but then I couldn't find it and I finally found it. I was getting a little worried because I had all the other 4 and not this one, and I wanted to get the collection because it's a Toys R Us exclusive, if you see that. So I was worried after Toys R Us officially goes out of business, am I going to be able to find this somewhere? Probably on Amazon, but who knows what the price would have been. So that was a great find. Also, so I've been looking for the Zeo Rangers. So I've always had Zeo Ranger 5, Red Ranger Tommy. Not always, but I've had that one for a while. So the Blue and the Green Ranger have been available. I don't think the Pink and Yellow are even available right now. They're supposed to be a GameStop exclusive, but who knows what's going on with Hasbro purchasing Power Rangers and all that. But anyways, so I always had my eye on the Blue and the Green one on Amazon, and they're always like 30 bucks, 35 bucks, 25 at the most. I always just keep my eye on that to see if they go down to like 20 bucks. But luckily, I randomly went into a Walmart last week and went to the toy aisle like I always do, and I found the Blue Zeo Ranger. I love these Zeo Ranger ones, not only because I love Power Rangers Zeo, but they just look really cool. And I always loved the look of the Blue and the Green Ranger, so I was just super excited to get this one. So then a couple days later, I go into a different Walmart and I found the Green Ranger. So I'm super excited about that. So I finished my 2017 movie collection. I don't have the alpha, but I'm just talking about the main team. And then I have all of the Zeo Ranger ones that are available. Hopefully they release the pink and yellow Zeo Rangers before Bandai stops making the toys completely, or maybe they already stopped, but I still hope they release that one. Anyways, let's talk about some of this news that I mentioned earlier. So first up, last episode we talked about how Hasbro bought Power Rangers and what that could possibly mean. At the time, they didn't mention anything about movies or anything like that. But since then, Hasbro CEO Brian Goldner has made some comments potentially for some movies. So I'm going to go ahead and read this comment for you guys. So this is Brian Goldner. As I mentioned, we've now announced the acquisition of Power Rangers. This is a really great statement about where we believe we are in developing our brand blueprint. The fact that we can acquire Power Rangers brand and plug and play that right into our strategy, where we activate it in entertainment, motion pictures in the future, and then of course across toys and games and consumer products, and do so globally. We felt the brand was very under-leveraged and undervalued. We feel that we can exploit it to a greater extent, and it was a great opportunity to acquire the brand. I freaking love these comics. First of all, I 100% agree with him that this brand has been overvalued or undervalued and not being put to its full potential. And yes, I'm completely biased in that statement because I'm a huge fan of this, but I honestly believe there's some really cool things you can do with this brand. it's almost limitless what you can do with the mythology and all that stuff. You can go on forever with this. It's almost limitless, like I said. So I think this is great. I'm so happy that Hasbro bought Power Rangers overall, because I think they're going to make some amazing toys. When they start making their own toys, I think they're going to be amazing. And also, I think they're going to actually put a lot of effort and a lot of energy and have confidence in creating new Power Rangers content. I think the TV shows are going to be higher quality from now on, and I do think they have big plans for movies. Now, a lot of people are debating whether or not they're going to make a sequel to the 2017 film, or if they're just going to completely reboot it. I'm torn on that, because I love that 2017 film, and that cast is amazing. However, there were some things done in the movie that I wish they would have done differently, like Goldar, for example. So I wouldn't mind a reboot, but like I said, I love Doc Ray Montgomery. I love the girl who plays the Pink Ranger. I can't remember her name right now, but I think I would prefer a sequel, but I wouldn't mind a reboot. But if you think about this for a second, Bandai and Saban had they were working with Lionsgate Studio. So Hasbro works with Universal Studio. So can they still, was Lionsgate the one who signed those actors to the contracts? And does Lionsgate own the rights to that movie? And now that can withhold Universal and Hasbro from making a true sequel to that film? That might be the case, and if that is, that sucks, because you have, like, the young cast. You have freaking Bryan Cranston as Zordon. I think Elizabeth Banks, even though I'm iffy on the portrayal of Rita in that film, but I think Elizabeth Banks is a great casting for Rita, and you could do some really cool things with her character in the future on the moon with the green power coin. And first of all, even if they do reboot, they better keep it to where Rita was the original Green Ranger. I think that's so much better than she just randomly has the green power coin and chooses someone to take it. Like, I love the idea of her being the Green Ranger and then passing that torch on to somebody to eventually fight and take on the Rangers. I think that was great. All right, so moving on to some comic book news, which we usually don't have a lot of because the comics just are continuing and they're always great. So now we've heard now that after Shattered Grid, there's going to be a new storyline called Beyond the Grid in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers run of the comics, not the Go-Go. I don't know if it's going to tie into Go-Go directly, but we're still going to have Go-Go going on with the original team way early on in their careers, even before they even met Tommy. So that's great. This is great. But this new the Beyond the Grid comics is gonna have a new team, supposedly, and not supposedly, they announced it, and they announced who the team's gonna be. So this woman named Margaret Bennett is going to be taking over, I believe, the writing for the Beyond the Grid, and then she's gonna be working with Simone DeMeo, and so they're gonna take over. And the previous creators, like, stepping down. I'm sure he's still going to oversee. I think Kyle Higgins is his name. Still going to oversee stuff, I believe. I don't know. But Margaret Bennett is taking over. And this is what I don't know anything about Margaret Bennett, but from her quotes, you can tell she's a fan. You can look up the article. There's a long article about all this stuff. Kyle Higgins had a whole bunch of stuff to say. So did she. But this is the one quote I pulled from Margaret Bennett to kind of explain where she's at with this whole thing. So this is what she said. Even though I can't tell you what's coming, I'm really hoping to keep the momentum, vigor, and emotion of everything that Kyle has set up on this carrying course into this whole new world of possibilities. I won't lie, it's a dream come true. It's such a cliche and so childish, but so sincere. I can't believe that I get to write for Power Rangers. So from that, you can tell she's a huge fan, which is something that I care about. I want the person working on this to be dedicated to these characters and care about these characters and care about this story. So that's there. I'm sure they wouldn't hire her if she sucked, if she was a nobody, if she didn't know what she was doing. I'm sure they wouldn't hire her. So I'm cool with this. I love how she said she's going to continue what Kyle's been doing, but then bring her own flavor to it. Now, here's the thing. This is going to be a new Ranger team, and I don't know how this team is going to be assembled. I don't know how it's all going to work out. With Shattered Grid, you can do anything. You can have this story or these characters end up anywhere. So I'm not worried about how they get to this. And I was worried at first, because I'm going to mention the team in a second. But when they first announced this team, I was like, wait a minute. We're not going to get the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers anymore. No. But then I forgot, oh, we still have Go-Go going on. It's only on issue number 10. So they can still tell the original Mighty Morphin Power Ranger story, which I'm sure we're going to get the Green with Evil saga in those comics, which is going to be great, because they haven't met Tommy yet. And then we could still have this new thing for the Mighty Morphin. And I actually prefer this, because while I love the Mighty Morphin run, we've been with those characters for, by the time Shattered Grid ends, probably like 30 issues, and it's okay. I'm okay with not having both issues running being the same exact characters on the same exact team. So I am fine with them having a new team. So here's what the new team is going to be. So it's going to be Ranger Slayer, the Kimberly from Draken's World. It's going to be Magna Defender from Lost Galaxy, Tanya, the Yellow Zeo Ranger, Cam from Ninja Storm, a mysterious Dino Charge themed Ranger, and Andros from Power Rangers in Space. Now, I will tell you, I am not familiar with the Ninja Storm, the Lost Galaxy, or the Dino Charge Rangers, but I am familiar with Tanya from Zeo Rangers, and I love Tanya. Tanya's one of the best Power Rangers characters ever, in my opinion. She's so underrated, and nobody ever talks about her, but her character is so great. I've talked about that on my Zeo review. You can go check that out. It's one on the previous episodes. But so I love that she's in there. I love that Andros is in there. I'm currently watching Power Rangers in Space, and he's awesome. I don't know why people don't talk about him a lot either. When I was a kid, I didn't really remember the Andros that much, because I think whenever I thought of Power Rangers in Space, I always thought about Zane, the Silver Ranger, because who didn't? The Silver Ranger is so cool. But actually, in the show, I actually like Andros more. So I'm so happy to see that. So you got Tanya, awesome. Andros, awesome. Ranger Slayer, awesome. But here's the thing for me. So if you're reading the comics, you know that Ranger Slayer, obviously in present day, whatever, is bad. She's trying to hunt the Rangers down. But then when you go to these flashbacks on Draken's World, and she seems like she's good. So I don't know what's going on there. They might be playing with us. Maybe she has her own agenda. She may seem like she's working with Draken, but she's really not. So we're going to see how that all comes to play. I'm excited for this team to come together. And if you can look this up, they have a picture of them all together, looks like a comic book cover, and it's on the thumbnail as well if you've seen it there. So that I'm super excited about this. Again, was a little bit worried at first, but we're still going to have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in Go-Go, so that's all fine there. All right, so now that we got that news out of the way, let's jump into the review of Go-Go Power Rangers number 10. This one came out a few weeks ago, but I'm finally getting to it, and I wanted to get the review up before. So today is Tuesday, June 20th. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I believe the next issue of Shattered Grid comes out. So I wanted to get this episode up today, so then I can put up the new Shattered Grid episode sometime later this week or early next week. So I'm not backtracking too far away. So Go-Go Power Rangers number 10. I liked it. It wasn't great. It was another one of those kind of filler issues, kind of like the last issue of Shattered Grid where they're setting stuff up. This wasn't all set up, but it was basically like the first part to a 3-part little episode of Power Rangers or something like that, or the first half of an episode of Power Rangers. This is what this issue felt like, and it ends on a cliffhanger. So, which a lot of these have been doing lately. A lot of comics do that anyway, so I don't mind that there. But if you've seen the cover, I got it right here. Seen the cover? You got the Grave Zord on there, Ranger Slayer Zord, which I love this cover. It really, I love the look of it. It looks kind of like a Pacific Rim type style, which I think the Power Rangers and the Zords in the movie should go towards that kind of like the first Pacific Rim, more than like this, I don't know, like childish look that they had in the new movies. I don't know. So I do like that new Zord a lot. So that's cool. But so the issue opens with like kind of like I want to say a montage, but just like little, 3 or 4 clips of like Draken's world and how like they're just running stuff, and you have like the statues of Rita and Green Ranger Tommy, and so it kind of reminds me of the Empire. I just had this realization, and Star Wars is or Power Rangers is so influenced by Star Wars. If you didn't know that, by the way, heavily influenced by Star Wars. I mean, come on, the morphing grid, the Force, yeah, come on. So, anyways, but you see this, like, I just realized. So Draken's army, his soldiers, are just like stormtroopers, but they're just in different iterations of the Power Rangers comics. So it really the way that Draken's has taken over his world kind of reminds me of the Empire taking over the galaxy in Star Wars. So that was kind of cool to see, especially how big Star Wars fan. So Rangers, we go back how I just mentioned earlier, Ranger Slayer on her Earth, and she's working with the bulk of that Earth. And it was a pretty cool scene because it just showed, you know, Ranger Slayer is good. She's like hiding out, trying to do good things. And the bulk from this Earth, they're like kind of talking. And so even though they're from a different Earth, a different reality or whatever, they're still similar to like the characters that we know, because they're talking to each other, and he's like, "Oh, Kim, so high maintenance," and then she's like, "Yeah, Bulk, just sleeping in class, bullying people." And then Bulk was like, "Well, I love history class." She's like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." And then so that was kind of cool. Like, you got a little bit of, so there's a side to Bulk that like we didn't think we knew, and then there's this thing where like I need to know when Ranger Slayer turned, and if she's actually on Draken's side or not, and how she's going to end up being the focus of a new Power Rangers team in the future. So we're going to see how that all plays out. That was my next note. So yeah, so I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. I think she purposely infiltrated Draken's team, gained his trust, got on his side, and now she has her own agenda trying to take Draken down eventually. That's what I think. But at the same time, she's going at the Rangers hard. So where's that? Maybe she doesn't care if she hurts the Rangers from this Earth or something like that. Maybe it plays into her plan. Maybe, I don't know. It'll all be revealed pretty soon. I heard the next issue of Go-Go is going to dive into that. I'm not 100% positive about that, but that's what I heard. So now we go to our regular timeline with the regular Rangers, and classic Bulk and Skull trying to bully Billy and Trini. But then they had a callback to, remember that issue where they had Bulk and Skull and Billy? They used to be best friends when they were kids, and then they kind of grew apart, and now like they're the ones who bully Billy and all that stuff. So now we see Bulk getting ready to throw a water balloon at Billy, and Skull's like, "Come on, let's just lay off him today." And that was a really cool, because I loved that issue. I love that how they're messing with the mythology and changing it up a little bit and adding these little things, because it adds depth to the characters, which is amazing. So I love the idea that Skull and Billy used to be best friends and they grew apart, and now like Skull's the one who bullies him. And they do play into it in the past issues where, like, because the reason why Skull even went down that path is because he felt like Billy always acted like he was smarter than him. So that's some really deep stuff. But I love how Skull tries to stop Bulk, and then I love how Billy catches the water balloon and throws it back in Bulk's face, because I'm like, yes, because you're always getting bullied and you have powers. Like, you don't have to kill him, but kind of just mess with him and do stuff like that. Because I think one thing that the recent Power Rangers movie did well is to show that even when they're not in their morphing suits, like, they're still Power Rangers, so they have these abilities. So I think the just having the power coins on them heightens their abilities. So that kind of was showed in this issue when Billy catches the water balloon and throws it back at him, because I love that. It has to be subtle things. He can't like just straight up fight him and beat him up. He would have to do stuff like that, which was really, really cool. Always love Bulk getting his due when he deserves it. So then we got cut to Kimberly confronting Matt, so Matt has kind of been hiding from everybody after the whole thing that happened when he was captured and the whole prom thing. And we think he's just so like traumatized and he just can't deal with anybody. But apparently he's up to his own plan. He thinks that he has a purpose, and that he's been chosen for some reason. He is involved with the Power Rangers, so that he has a plan to get involved. And the reason why he hasn't been talking to any of the kids is because he doesn't want to get them involved. He doesn't want to get them hurt, because he doesn't know that they're actually the Power Rangers. So he is trying to keep them away and keep them distanced because he thinks he's part of this thing, which he is, and he wants to figure that out. He doesn't want anybody else to get hurt. So, and that plays on later on into the issue. That's pretty interesting because I like the Matt character a lot, and I was really worried that, oh, he's just so traumatized from this thing, he's just gonna, you know, fall off and disappear. So I really want to see what happens with that character. You can do some great things with that character because nobody says you can't rewrite the mythology. They already done that a bunch of times. Potentially, maybe, okay, maybe he dies and his death is a way for Kimberly's character to evolve. That can be a good thing as well. Maybe somehow he becomes a ranger. Who knows? Nobody said that he can't do that. I've always thought, like, just what if you could have the Green Ranger and the White Ranger on a team? Like, what if somehow, you know, Tommy comes around, he's the Green Ranger, they do the Green with Evil saga, you know, he loses the green powers and then he gets the white powers, and then somehow the green power coin is, you know, saved and Matt becomes the Green Ranger, something like that, and then you have 7 Rangers. I think that would be something that would be really, really cool, but that's not going to happen. That would take so long to do, and then I feel like if they're going to do something like that with Matt, it needs to happen soon. So maybe introduce like an Orange Ranger or something, who knows. Or the other route you can go is that he becomes evil, which I don't know if I want that, but that could be really interesting. So then, oh, this part of the issue was done really, really well. So I think we saw last issue, Jason was talking to his dad and how his dad is sick or something like that. And in this issue, we have Jason asking Zordon, can we do something about this? Like, I know we're not supposed to use our powers or your powers to help to stop people from dying, but can we just do it this once to save my dad? And he's like tearing up, and just goes to add to what these comics have done as far as giving these characters depth. But also it just shows the, you know, vulnerability of Jason, who's like just a straight, you know, hard character who doesn't show his emotions that much. And also it shows how serious Zordon is about, like, he can't interfere with stuff like that. He has to let life go on. He's here to help protect the earth, but he can't just interfere and just prevent somebody from dying, even if he has the ability to. And I thought that was strong because that can create, because even Jason might not completely understand that, so he's like, I don't understand, maybe you can actually save my dad right now and you're not gonna do it. Like, that can lead to some interesting storytelling right there. So I thought that was great. And then we get to the Grave Zord showing up. I love the Grave Zord. It's a dumb name, just like a lot of the names in Power Rangers, but in the sense of Power Rangers, it's a pretty cool name. So the Grave Zord shows up, Ranger Slayer Zord. They can't do anything. They're fighting her, all 5 of them with their Zords. They can't do anything. They try to form the Megazord. She stops them. How powerful is that Zord? How powerful is Ranger Slayer? She's more experienced than they are. She's been a Power Ranger well for a long time. So I'm not surprised that she's able to take them on like this. And so then, and she, at the same time, she's attacking the command center, and she's controlling the Grave Zord remotely. So that's freaking crazy. Like, while she's, you know, at the command center attacking Alpha and Zordon, she's controlling the Grave Zord remotely. And then you see Matt come running in, and he's like, hey, it's Matt. And then we see like a Zord falling on him, and then it's like, oh no, and it cuts, and then Kimberly shows up to the command center to, you know, fight Ranger Slayer and try to save Alpha and Zordon. Like I said, it's like the first half of a movie or the first half of an episode or something like that. It's less of a setup than I thought. Now that I went through the whole issue, it's way less of a setup than I thought. But it's still, like I said, it's the first half of something. Like, this next issue is going to be like the second half of these 2 issues. So, because it obviously ends on a cliffhanger. There was no conclusion in this issue, which is fine, I guess, if you're paying $4 or $5 for, you know, some comics. They're, you know, maybe they should be longer, I don't know. But I did enjoy it overall. It was a nice addition to this overall storyline in Go-Go for what it is. So yeah, I liked it. It wasn't amazing, but we'll see what happens. I'm really looking forward to the next issue of Go-Go, because supposedly we're gonna get more into Ranger Slayer and find out more about her, maybe some more hints as to how she eventually becomes good again and becomes an actual ranger that they end up focusing on in these episodes. And I believe next issue of Shattered Grid comes out tomorrow on Wednesday, so I'm going to be reading that. I'm going to be probably shooting a review for that next episode this weekend, get it up early next week. Thank you all for watching this episode of Off the Grid, a Power Rangers podcast. Again, I am Jacob Bartley. This is Comic Hero Talk YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you like Power Rangers or if you like all things in geek culture. Right now I'm only doing Power Rangers stuff, but I have plans to expand that, to get into some comic book TV, some more comics, obviously, some comic book movies and other things like that. So stay tuned, subscribe if you like all that stuff. Thanks again for watching. Until then, may the power protect you.